Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Hare Krishna, we're studying Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 10, entitled The Opulence of the Absolute, text 10, so 10.10, it's May 21st, 2025. Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Pritipurvakam Dadami Udiyogam Tam Yena Mam Upayanti Te Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Pritipurvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yenamam Upayanti Te Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Pritipurvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yenamam Upayanti Te Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Pritipurvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yenamam Upayanti Te
Tesam Satata Yuktanam
Tesam Satata Yuktanam
Bhajatam Pritipurvakam
Bhajatam Pritipurvakam
Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam
Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam
Yenamam Upayanti Te
Yenamam Upayanti Te
Tesham satakta yuktanam
Tesam Satata Yuktanam
Sutam priti purvakam
Bhajatam Pritipurvakam
Adami buddhi yogam tam
Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam
Yena mam upayanti te
Yenamam Upayanti Te
Tesham satata yuktanam
Tesam Satata Yuktanam
Rajatam priti purvakam
Bhajatam Pritipurvakam
Yadami buddhi yogam tam
Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam
Yenamam upayanti te
Yenamam Upayanti Te Tesham unto them Satata Yuktanam always engaged Bhajatam in devotional service Pritipurvakam in loving ecstasy Dadami I give Buddhi Yogam real intelligence Tam that Yena by which Mam unto me Upayanti come Te they. Translation. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In this verse, the word Buddhi Yogam is very significant. We may remember that in the second chapter, the Lord, instructing Arjuna, said that he had spoken to him of many things and that he would instruct him in the way of Buddhi Yoga. Now, Buddhi Yoga is explained. Buddhi Yogam itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence, and yoga means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and takes fully to Krishna consciousness in devotional service, his action is called Buddhi Yogam. In other words, Buddhi Yogam is the process by which one gets out of the entanglement of this material world. The ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. People do not know this. Therefore, the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. One should know that the goal is Krishna, and when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. When a person knows the goal of life but is addicted to the fruits of activities, he is acting in karma yoga. When he knows that the goal is Krishna, but he takes pleasure in mental speculations to understand Krishna, he is acting in jnana yoga. And when he knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he is acting in bhakti yoga or buddhi yoga, which is the complete yoga. This complete yoga is the highest perfectional stage of life. A person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization, but still, if he is not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instructions so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. The qualification is that a person always engage himself in Krishna consciousness and with love and devotion render all kinds of services. He should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be with love. If a devotee is intelligent enough, he will make progress on the path of self-realization. If one is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain to him. Om Aganatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayamrupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpata Yubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, text 10, Tisham Satate Yuktanam Bhajatam Pritipurvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yenamam Upiyanti Te. To one who is constantly devoted and worships me with love, I give the intelligence by which he can come to me. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the intelligence by which they can come to me. Hare Krishna. Okay. Yes, so yesterday we had two programs, morning and evening, and kind of at the end of the evening program, we were, Rosa, Simon, and myself, we were taking prasad, and I asked them, any suggestions for tomorrow morning's morning program, like a particular topic like that? Okay, and so Simon suggested the topic of love. He said he suggested the topic of love. Okay, so that completely resonated, and because just I don't know, a few weeks ago, Rose and I we were here and we learned it together. This verse, Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Pritipurvakam Tadami Buddhagam Yenamam Upyantere. So Krishna is directly speaking about love here. So I asked Rosa to write that verse on the board, and she did that. She did that. Okay. Yes, right. And so it was back in February. James came from Kansas, and he did like kind of a 5-day bhakti yoga retreat here. And so we had lots of programs, and yeah, it was after one program, I just kind of like slid into with James and Rosa. Let's rigorously, in a military type way, memorize a verse, and so it was like energetically, we locked the doors, and neither James nor Rosa could leave until they memorized. This is love. This is love, and this is bhakti. This is love, and we memorized. Yes, we memorized. He knows. What's that?
No force.
No force. It was energetically, they both wanted to escape at times, but okay, so they both memorized. No, but there's a happy ending. There's a happy ending. Dehinos minyata dehe komaram yavanam jara tata dehantara praptir diras tatranamuyati. As the embodied soul continually passes from childhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at the time of death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. And yeah. So the happy ending is that Rosa, I don't know about James, maybe, Rosa developed a taste for learning verses. And so then a few weeks later, yeah, she said, well, can we do another? So we did this one. We did this one. And by the way, Anandini, I did that to your husband in early in 2000. Maybe he shared that with you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was the same verse.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of this special surprise if someone comes to visit me. I don't know.
It's
Like,
This
still
is
suffering.
shocking.
yeah.
This is shocking to hear that Bhakti Rosa, after that experience, wanted to repeat it.
Yeah. It just shows these verses go very powerful. However, whatever the consciousness in which they're presented in, whatever the consciousness may be. So yeah, and yeah, so that the Hinos mean verse, let's call it, that's an ontology in philosophical terms, like academic university terms. That's ontology. It's the study of what is, right? So there's matter and there's spirit. And so there's the distinction between matter and spirit, and further ontology. Well, then there's the super soul, and okay. And then this verse, let's call this is epistemology. This is epistemology. So ontology is the study of what is, and epistemology, the study is how do we know what is. Okay. So typically, you're like a common epistemology. The Vedas describe 10 epistemologies. One of them I'd like to mention is called Sesta, which is actually nonverbal and paralinguistic communication. It's called gestures. So we get knowledge through gestures. Someone might be saying something, but look at their body language. Okay, that's very, very Sophatov, you might like that. And so, well, we get knowledge by studying books and like that. So, there's some truth to that, but we know that those approaches are limited. We won't go into it too much here. But so Krishna is giving a different epistemology. Through serving with love, we get buddhi. Buddhi means intelligence, understanding. By serving with love, we get buddhi. Okay. This morning, because the theme was love. So before japa, we kind of did like a mini philosophy discussion, a little extended compared to what we usually do before chanting around together. But Bhakti George was here online also for that. And so I read another verse where Krishna talks about love, and that's chapter 4, text 10, Vitaraga Bhaya Kvota Manmaya Mamupashita Bhavo Gyanatapasa Putamad Bhavamagata Bhavam love. And so Krishna talks about many, many great sagely persons who've given up attachment to matter and fear of a spiritual identity and cynical anger out of being cheated so much. They've developed love for me and they've come to me. Chapter 4, text 10. Over the decades, I've chosen to give class from that verse a lot. Srila Prabhupada, our service is so much connected with psychology. So Srila Prabhupada really goes into the psychology of personalism and impersonalism in that verse. So it's like amongst my favorite purports. It might be number one, actually. He really goes into the psychology of it. And the first part of the verse is, as Prabhupada often does, Prabhupada describes our entanglement. Sometimes he's so vivid and graphic, it can be like, this feels really hopeless. This is pretty terrible. And then the second part of the purport, Prabhupada talks about, and there's it's a sunny day. Here's the process for liberation. Here's the process for freedom, like that. And then Prabhupada, he quotes the 9-step process at Owl Shada, starting with faith, starting with trust at Owl Sada, Tata Sadhu, Sangato, Bhajana Kriya, Tato Narta, Nivritti Sat, Tato Nishta, Ruchistata, coming to Anarta Vritti, pulling the weeds from the garden of the heart. Atashaktis Tato Bhava, yes, okay. And same mood as Bhajatam used in this verse we're studying today. Atashaktis Tato Bhava, Tata Prema, Budantiti, Sarakana Maya Prema, Prado Bhavet Krama means it's a gradual process. So very, very closely related themes here. Yesterday, we talked about, there's this, I think it's one of the well-known videos of Prabhupada giving a lecture. He's in Australia, and someone in the auditorium asks, how long does it take to become Krishna conscious? And Prabhupada says, 1 moment. 1 moment. Okay, so means that it's just a matter of being sincere. Ladini's amused. Glad I'm adding amusement value to your day. Okay, so 1 moment. Just choose to surrender. When? Now? After 120 million lifetimes? No, 1 moment. Okay, so that's philosophically true. So that can be so encouraging. Can also be discouraging. 1 moment. Oh, what's that mean about my level of sincerity? Okay. And then at the same time, right here, we hear that Srila Prabhupada, in the verse we read this morning, chapter 4, text 10, in that purport, Prabhupada said, Srila Prabhupada writes, in the prema stage, there is constant engagement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So by the slow process of devotional service, under the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master, one can attain the highest stage, being freed from all material attachment, from the fearfulness of one's individual spiritual personality, and from the frustrations resulting from void philosophy. So, slow process. In chapter 6, Krishna says, Shanai, Shanai, gradually, step by step. And here, at the end of the first paragraph of the purport in this chapter 10, text 10, Prabhupada writes, one should know that the goal is Krishna. And when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed and the ultimate goal is achieved. So, yeah, we want to understand philosophically, if I was deeply sincere, I could choose complete surrender now and just stay on that platform. And practically, for practically all of us, Krishna and Prabhupada, no, it's a slow process. It's a gradual process. So that's true too. They're understanding, where we're at and our level of sincerity. And so it's a gradual process. And okay, and so we get knowledge, we get understanding through service, and we can understand even in this world. It's very transformative communication, right? Like if we want to really get to know another person, if any of us wants to get to know each other intimately, deeply, through the process of just from a distance studying you from aloof, come into my laboratory, let me do an analysis. I can understand you a little, and even some of what I think I understand probably won't be correct. But if we really want to get to know each other intimately, the process is we gain each other's love and trust. People don't care what you know till they know that you care. You feel my care, I feel your care. Then gradually we reveal our hearts more and more intimately. So that's the process to get to know a conscious entity in a deep, intimate way. And so that's the process, Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam, to get to know the supreme conscious entity, Eko Bhavanam Yo Vidadati Kaman, Sri Krishna. So, yes. Yes. So then, something, so everything's personal, and everything starts with the supreme person. So to the extent that we develop love and serve with sincerity, then we get knowledge. We get knowledge of matter, knowledge of spirit, all the intimate knowledge. So that's the epistemology here. And love can be like a grand term, like love for Krishna. I struggle to get out of bed in the morning to do this program, like love. But so it's like Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Saja Kabunoi Shravanadi Shuddhachite Hariye Udai. So love for Krishna is situated in the hearts of all living entities, including us and the squirrel and the blades of grass and the tiger and the dog and the cat. Love of Krishna is situated in the hearts of all living entities, and it's awakened through this process of hearing and chanting. Bhagavad Gita, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So like, whatever our feeling, just the fact that we're giving some time, we're giving some energy, we're trying to focus our mind on chanting japa, studying Bhagavad Gita, that's like, it's a beginning of an expression of the love that's deep in the soul we are. C.S. Lewis said, you don't have a soul. You are a soul. You have a body. Okay? So deep in the soul, there is love of Krishna, and the fact that we're given some time to these processes. Bhagavad Gita, offering a flower to Srila Prabhupada, offering obeisances, consuming only prashadam. Okay, that's like there's the love. That it's some symptoms, some symptoms of the love that's deep in the heart. So love is a feeling, and we can hear lots about love as a feeling in different. Actually, in my personal reading this morning before Mangalarti, I was reading chapter 8 of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Majji Leela, and it's quite a chapter, but quite a chapter, so many interrelated parts. It's the discussions between Srila Ramananda Roy and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and towards the end of the chapter, so the whole discourse, it's Lord Chaitanya being in the role of student, asking questions. So that's one place that it gets into the feelings of love and the nuance. So love is a feeling. And love is a verb. And reading this text and purport, I'm moved about how love is a verb. Just some sections of, and I see that as very important. Okay, so, all right.
I'm sorry, I
So
didn't get it. What is love other than feeling?
it's a verb of, like, there's in grammar, there's nouns, there's adjectives, and there's verbs.
Okay,
Yes.
get it.
Got it, yeah. Okay, so Prabhupada writes in this purport, Buddhi Yogam itself is action in Krishna consciousness. So the verse is about love, and Prabhupada's talking about action. And Prabhupada says, now Buddhi Yoga is explained. Buddhi Yogam itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence, and Yogam means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and takes fully to Krishna consciousness in devotional service, his action is called Buddhi Yogam. In other words, Buddhi Yogam is the process by which one gets out of the entanglement of this material world. Yes. And Prabhupada talks about it. The path is slowly and progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. Okay. So Buddhi Yogam is action in Krishna consciousness. I'm reminded there's a pastime with Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada, like, the movement was already developing and thriving, and Hare Krishna explosion sort of thing. And so Prabhupada arrived like at the airport, and there was like throngs of followers and devotees and chanting ecstatically at the airport, this and that. And then they got, to the temple and Prabhupada's quarters, and Prabhupada's personal servant, like, honestly shared with him, like, Srila Prabhupada, you're all these disciples, they have so much like ecstatic love for you. And honestly, Srila Prabhupada, I'm not feeling that. I'm honestly not feeling that. Like that. It was like an honest admission. And Srila Prabhupada said, oh, do you like packing and carrying my bags? And the servant said, oh yeah, so much. Do you like preparing and serving me prasad? So, oh yeah. Do you like arranging my my desk or my appointments, whatever the services were? And the servant said, yeah, I like that. So I appreciate that. So I'm so honored to do that. And then Srila Prabhupada said, that is love. That is love. Okay, so we're not minimizing love as a feeling. At the same time, Srila Prabhupada emphasized that. Okay. And actually, there's that book we reference a lot, especially in Safatov coach training, The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck. And it's been a long time, probably more than 20 years since I read it, maybe 25 years. But I remember, I mean, love is maybe the main theme in that book. And in one sense, he says, not that I want to, compare what he's saying to the fully transcendental Bhagavad Gita or Chaitanya Charitamrita, but there's a lot of wisdom in there. When he's kind of emphasizing that actual love is shown when the feelings of love go away. Okay, because then love is a decision. Love is a decision. Like, I'm not feeling it, and I'm choosing to act in a loving way. I'm not feeling it. I'm choosing to act with patience and tolerance and honest feedback from a caring place, even though I'm not feeling the feelings that were there. Okay. So action. So again, there's the feelings of love for Krishna are deep in our heart, and they are awakened by this process of, the sadhana practice that Prabhupada's giving us. And then, so then action. It's such a powerful soundbite. Buddhi Yogam itself is action in Krishna consciousness. So we can look at, we can consider, because we can talk about love, and because for sure, in, like, let's call it the esoteric Gaudiya Vaishnava literature, there's so much about the feelings of love and the resonance of Vrindavan, this and that. And then there's so much falsity. It's called sahajya, that kind of, in a premature way, tries to absorb there without practicing rigorous sadhana, without delving into Krishna and Arjuna on the battlefield, because I'm just into those esoteric feelings of love, where it's actually dangerous to go there if someone's conditioned soul not guided by a bona fide spiritual master. And so, okay, but then we can look like, okay, love is, we can look at how much am I actually dedicating myself to serve Srila Prabhupada's movement, to spread his movement. Yeah, like how much am I dedicating myself to take action? That's yoga. And we can typically yoga, eyes closed in a forest. Okay, that can also be yoga. But yeah, how much am I dedicating myself to whatever Krishna is giving me, this mind, this intelligence, these resources, this house, this car, these relationships, how much am I dedicating it to spread Srila Prabhupada's movement? And then that can be a gauge of, how loving am I being? Somehow in the past 2 days, we're quoting St. Augustine a lot. We quoted him yesterday about how we're not punished for sin. We're punished by sin. We quoted him this morning again on another point. So another quote I've heard attributed to St. Augustine, he said, never judge a philosophy by its abuse. Okay. Another quote, nothing is so simple that it can't be misunderstood. That if I'm sincere to make things unnecessarily complex, I could misunderstand the simplest thing. No problem, I can do it. So yeah, so how much action are we taking to serve, support, expand Srila Prabhupada's movement? Now, that can be misunderstood, or it can be misapplied, where it's just like, yeah, I want to take I'll get these big results, I'll do this big project. Look at me, see how much love I have. And then it's external, it's superfluous. And I'm doing it. I'm doing it really just out of loving my own material ego, to get profit, adoration, distinction, popularity. Look how spiritual I am. Okay, so that's like a misapplication. Of course, even if our motivations are kind of mixed or even dirty like that, still by rendering service, we get purified. That's the process. Okay, still, I made the point that Prabhupada makes here, that love is action, so that we don't get sentimental the other way. Well, I'm not doing anything. Oh no, I don't commit to chant rounds. Oh no, I don't follow any of the regular principles, but I love Krishna within my heart. You might sense some mocking, cynical tone of voice here. I don't know, maybe you picked it up. Okay, so yeah, so I love it, kind of. Now, of course, whatever someone's doing, it's not for me to judge what's in their heart in relation to Krishna or Srila Prabhupada. It is for me to determine how to associate and what boundaries to establish based on what I see. I'm not ultimately judging what's in someone's heart. So these cautions both ways, it's mainly for us in our own introspection and honest self-examination. Am I being the sentimental, to rationalize, not like being rigorous and sadhana, to rationalize being lazy and not stretching myself to do more to expand Prabhupada's movement. But I really love Krishna in my heart. It's like, it's not about pointing the finger at others, it's about looking at myself. And similarly, if I am, I'm doing something, I'm doing this project, I'm doing this program, and like that, okay, look how much love I have. To what extent is it like, look at me, and not truly coming from, I want to please Prabhupada and Krishna. Hare Krishna. So we're studying this, just as many of you are aware, this is one of the seed verses of Bhagavad Gita. The 4 seed verses are chapter 10, text 8 to 11. So this is one of the seed verses. Srila Prabhupada calls chapter 11, text 55, the essence of Bhagavad Gita, and these are the seed or the nutshell verses. So this is chapter 10, text 10, Bhagavad Gita, Tesam Satata Yuktanam Bhajtam Pittipurvakam Tadami Buddhi Ogam Tam Yenamam Upyantite. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the intelligence by which they can come to me. I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Yes, in the word for word and purport, Prabhupada translates Buddhi Yogam as real intelligence, and in the translation, he uses the word understanding. And this is a closing point, because Srila Prabhupada, like he's using the word for word, the verse and the purport, to give different angles, That's why it can seem like they're not always completely consistent, because Prabhupada's giving different perspectives and richness and different angles, sometimes word for word translation and purport. Hare Krishna, thanks for giving your power of hearing to Bhagavad Gita. I welcome if anyone wants to share any comments or ask any questions.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for
Hare.
your. And I appreciate this verse and that you related to chapter 4. And it's something that I'm meditating on these last days. Like the process of bhakti yoga and Krishna consciousness, it can be very complex. And I like simple solutions. So what I came to with listening to Srila Prabhupada, and also you're sharing today about love, to do what I do with love. That's like a simple formula.
Yeah.
Do what I do with love, and what Srila Prabhupada said in one of the classes, and I shared in the Bhagavad Gita group. He just says, like, do what you do with love, and there will be no suffering. And then there will be no entanglement. That's what he says. There will be no entanglement. And yeah, so I appreciate Simon choosing this verse about love and all you shared.
Thanks for your simplicity and simple sharing. Thank you, Anandini. I'm reminded of our time about 4 months ago in Líznice, yes, in Czech, and there was one, it was one class, and I mentioned because I had just read from Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada it was either a lecture or something I read. It was in January of this year, and Prabhupada mentioned bhakti is the feeling. It's not essentially the action, it's the feeling, the love. And so I shared that in the class, and that I got that. I was it was appreciated. It was like a pearl for many. Oh, it's the feeling. So that's that's Prabhupada's giving us, and so thanks for sharing that. Yeah, this bhakti, this Krishna consciousness. It is so simple. It is so simple. A little child can completely simply understand it, and it's so complex that the greatest academic professor scholar is just completely confused and bewildered. Both are true. Both are true. And so we just connect with to serve with feeling. Very simple.
Yeah, that stayed with me too, the feeling, do it with feeling. It's about the feeling. You shared that. I think it was the January the 1st.
Okay.
You shared. And it's I see it as very practical in making choices. What do I take on or not? Like I can see what is my capacity to love, to do things with love. And when I see, well, this will just be extra and my capacity to do it with love is not there, I can sometimes, I can always look at how can I connect with love in what I do.
Mm.
I can meet myself where I'm at and say, yeah, if I do more than this, it will no longer be with love. So I'd rather not do it.
Thanks for that. And that becomes like a reference point or a guideline for our boundaries, our decision-making process.
Mhm. Mm.
Thank you, Anandini. Hare Krishna. Bhakti and Rosa.
Appreciate the last thing that you said about boundaries. So the purport made me think, and your speaking made me think about relationship with Krishna and what it looks like during Lord Nrsimhadev's appearance day. We were at Prabhu Naveen and Mahavi's house, and I'd spoken to you about how I was reading Krishna book where Rukmini had written Krishna a letter, right, to have Krishna come kidnap her. And like she had just love and devotion. And I was considering writing a letter to Krishna, and it was in my considerations, I realized like I feel selfish. It's not love and devotion. It's more like I appreciate the peace, and like I feel compassion and tolerance and all these things that I've been yearning for in association with Krishna. And so anyway, I'm tying it to today's talk because you were talking about how to create an intimate relationship with another person, it's through service.
Yeah.
And I was reflecting how in my life, when people have approached me and it's obvious that they are desiresome of, let's say, for example, it's just that they see that I'm peaceful and they think to be close to me would bring them peace. In my life, my personality, my tendency, my experience, whereas at first that could seem very complimentary, I kind of grew resentful, and I realized it's because of lack of boundaries.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I hear, and in that, Rosa, you're accepting responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
You can blame them and they violated your boundaries. I mean, maybe they had shortcomings, but you're accepting responsibilities about you establishing boundaries or not.
Yeah.
And that was the seed of your resentment.
And the reason why I bring that up is because I worry in approaching Krishna with like this desiresomeness in my heart that he would grow resentful of me. But Krishna has boundaries, I'm certain. Anyway, that's what's coming up. And I have a question for you for now or later, which is learning about better boundaries. Because in my lifetime, I haven't had good examples of like healthy relationships. So that's it. Hare Krishna.
Thanks for sharing, Latinos. Thanks for sharing. Yes, well, there's a verse in Bhagavad Gita and Krishna. So a verse at the end of chapter 5, Krishna says, Bhokdram Yagaprapsam Sarvaloka Maheshram Suridam Sarvabhutanam Gatamam Bhakshanti Michiti. So Krishna says he's the best friend of all living entities. And so because he's accompanying us, there's a full expansion of Krishna called Super Soul, Paramatma, sitting right next to us in the region of the heart. And no matter how much we ignore him, neglect him, he just stays with us. And we can, just imagine we have this friend who's so caring about us and we're ignoring. You don't even exist, ignoring, treating in the nastiest ways. And so not just in the human form, we're in pig form, in demigod form, in tree form, cat, dog form, whatever we've done, whatever nonsense, vicious activities we've done, Krishna, that's like, you're sharing, Rosa, moves me, that's what it means, or like it's something that it means, that Krishna is our best friend. He stays with us as degraded as we become, however terribly we treat him. And it's said, like there's a verse in Bhagavad Gita talks about how when we're in lower modes, we torture the super soul. We're giving pain to Krishna. Krishna is completely blissful. It can seem contradictory, but it's not. Just like, let's say if a parent a parent has a very nice life, fulfilling life, happy life in all ways, socially, financially. They have intimate relationships with their spouse and wonderful friends, a wonderful life. But let's say the parent has a child who's like really self-sabotaging, and their child's just like making the worst life decisions. It's like a torture for the parent. It's a torture. So that's what we're doing. But the parent's always loving the child. So Krishna is not just loving, Krishna is staying right with us. So I appreciate your personal sharing. It's philosophically completely consistent with Bhagavad Gita, and you know, boundaries, and yeah, and it relates to what Anandini shared, that she's saying like, okay, if I'm in my choice, in my decision-making process, Anandini's saying like, okay, well, I could do more, I could do that, but like, is it coming from love? And if not, whether it's in relation to another person or the service or sadhana, whatever, if not, then maybe I'm setting myself up for being a martyr or resentment. And so I hear about Rosa, you're raising awareness about your process, about healthy boundaries. And another thing that comes to me in your sharing, something related yesterday morning, we read another quintessential verse from Bhagavad Gita, Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmane Gavihastini Shuni Cheva Svapakicha Pandita Samadarshina. The humble sage, the humble learned sage sees with equal vision a Brahmin, a learned Brahmin, a dog, an elephant, a cow, a dog eater, like that. So, whatever the external body, whatever the vehicle, the humble sage sees the soul. Okay, and so that relates, because we can think about, okay, well, the theme is love, but this is about love of God, love of Krishna. What about love of people? So that's a whole discussion. And we just made the comment, like if we're genuinely loving God and acting in love of God, there's no room for hating anyone or neglecting anyone. We can't I love God, but I don't like people of this color. I don't like people from that country. I'm going to be nasty to the animals. I don't like the Chinese or the Americans, but I love God. No, if we're truly loving God, God's the Supreme Father, the Supreme Mother, naturally we're going to love all of God's children, all of God's creation. So it's not just an esoteric thing. This is actually the root of loving our neighbor. This is actually the root of love your neighbor and like you love yourself. Thank you, Bhakti. Hare Krishna. Any other comments?
Hare Krishna. I have a comment, but I'm not sure if Bhuvanesh will allow me to complete it. I am laying down in the bed with him, hoping that he will fall asleep.
I see what you said. Okay.
But only one who is falling asleep is me. So, first of all, it's really interesting for me that you chose as a love verse this Tesham Satata Yuktanam verse, and I would like to hear more how I think it wouldn't be if I was to choose a love verse from Bhagavad Gita, this one wouldn't be anywhere near to the list of first 20 or something. So I'm curious about that. And then what really struck me when you said that love is a commitment, and especially the sharing from the book of Scott Peck or whatever his name.
The road less traveled, yeah.
Yeah, even the commitment, even if we don't feel like it, it's so much of my theme. Like when I'm angry, to still act with love. So hard. And Shama Priya just today challenged me to make a commitment, and I feel like it's impossible. And now I hear it second time in your class. So anyhow, it was an interesting coincidence, which I don't really don't want to see. But yes, it's fascinating. Like so many people will say that they are not interested in the love, the commitment, if there is not the real feeling, then I don't want it.
Yeah.
And the older I get, the more I appreciate the people in my life who are actually committed to me.
Mm.
So, but anyway, it's yeah, it's difficult to like commit in like no matter what.
Thanks for sharing your experience and realizations. So Ladini, what if you were say, okay, yeah, lead the philosophy discussion based on a love verse from Bhagavad Gita, which verse would you choose?
Well, like I you know, I'm not that I thought about it thoroughly, but maybe like some of like always think of me and become my
Okay.
devotee,
Sure. Yeah.
or that would be probably the first that I would think about. Then yeah, okay, I would need to think about it.
Okay.
Maybe
Thank
the
you.
section that Krishna says who is dear to him.
Yeah, that's yeah, no, wonderful choices, wonderful. Yeah. And I didn't think about it much because I just asked the question. There was some hesitation, delay, but then after a little while, Simon said love. So I didn't think about it much. So I just thought like this verse has the word love in it, and it's a verse that Rosa and I drilled on. So that's where I went. It took me about half a second because I just this verse had the, and the other verse I thought it was 4.10. It has the word love in it. At the same time, I completely am in agreement with you. Like other verses might not have the word love in it, but there's so much about love for Krishna, like Manmana Bhava Man Bhakto Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Bhagavad Gita ki.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Jai Hare Krishna.